In this country, we have systemic type of issues around education where the career degree is the most important. And so the proliferation of e-learning and people finding out, okay, this is what I want to do. Let me go find the best coaches and invest in them and get my career degree. Successful people write a check for speed. That's the only shortcut in success.
The problem is though, like at a certain point, you don't know what you don't know.
Online digital approach is a persuasion to persuade offline. It's how you're seen before you're known, liked, and trusted.
Yeah.
That is the greatest arbitrage in business.
Yeah.
Is your brand.
If you were to have like one final thing to kind of sum it up, what do you think our main focus should be?
Content coaching.
Welcome to the podcast. I don't know the name of it yet. Just because honestly, stepping in here, you know, I knew that I had an opportunity to chat with Amir and I wanted to jump on that. And then walking in today, I was like, oh shit, I don't even have a name for this thing yet. So a little bit embarrassed that I don't have that yet, but I'm passionate about the content I know that we're going to be covering today and think you're going to drop some real value bombs for us. So without further ado, if you would, Amir, just kind of introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, man.
This is dope, man. It's just like you and I talked the other day about, let's just pretend like we're having a talk and like the microphone and the whole entourage is not here because we got the whole crew back here, you know?
It's like 20 deep.
I roll like the Persian army, man, you know? But as far as the podcast name, I think I think it's cool that there is not a name. It's kind of like, you know, it's an enigma, you know what I mean? Yeah. But no, Austin, I remember first time you and I met. Obviously, we're in Go Coaching together, and we're building a great community. You're one of the high level. You're in one of the high level communities, the elite group, where there's a lot of broker owners, producing managers that are just investing in themselves in a time right now when this podcast is being recorded in October of 2003. We're going through a major change in the mortgage industry, and so I've been talking about in this country, we have systemic type of issues around education where, we're almost manipulated in some cases to just go to college, get a college degree, and then you're off into the corporate world. But, the younger generation, they're wisening up where, the college degree is not a guarantee for your career, right? And so the career degree is the most important. And so the proliferation of e-learning and people finding out, okay, this is what I want to do. Let me go find the best coaches and invest in them and get my career degree. I always say, I'm barely a high school graduate. I'm a college dropout, barely graduated high school. Real school started for me after school ended, and so you and I met through the launch of Go Coaching, and a lot of really long-term minded loan officer professionals are investing in themselves in one of the most difficult times. So dude, I just have massive respect for you and anyone that's doing it at a time like that right now. So my name is Amir Syed. I should have introduced myself at the beginning, right? But I'm a co-founder of Growth Only Coaching, which is now shortened to Go Coaching. We launched it about 18 months ago, which was a crazy 2-week period of my life. I was just telling some of the gang at breakfast this morning, shout out Neil Dingra and Trevor York from Forward Academy. We were having breakfast this morning, and December 30th, 2021, my wife and I closed on our home in Miami after living in Chicago for years. Launched Go Coaching January 1st, 2022. My daughter was born 8 days later via surrogacy in Minnesota on January 8th. And we sold our home in Chicago. We're renovating our home in Miami, lived in Little Rock, Arkansas in our second home, because we sold our home so fast in Chicago while our home in Miami is being renovated. So the last 18 months of my life has been a crazy blur, just building this coaching company, and just going through this storm. But I'll tell you, it reminds me of what my greatest mentor ever, Todd Screama, told me. He goes, there's levels, there's a job, there's a career, and there's a calling. And I used to ask him, well, how does one know if it's a calling? He says, because it's going to call you, right? And I felt God calling me to do this. And it's this is another micro moment that I'm so in the moment on right now with you, Austin, because I get to meet people like you. I've gotten to meet people like Jimmy Ryan, who's in the house, and a Sean Kaplan, a Joey Abdallah, who's all in the room right now, right? And so it's allowed me to get out of my little box of just being a loan officer and just paying it forward, obviously, with boundaries and meeting people across the country. And here I am in Vegas on one of your first podcast episodes. Yeah. It's really crazy, man.
It is.
So it's cool to be here with you, dude.
Well, and it's so cool that, I mean, just the platform that you've built. One of the first things that you said was, school was tough for you. Just going through the system. A lot of people don't know this, but so I didn't graduate high school. I actually got my GED and had to go through kind of the throes of not always feeling like I had my shit together as well as I should have, and kind of had a chip on my shoulder for a long time about that. And the mortgage industry, it ebbs and flows, but it gives you opportunities that sometimes you otherwise would never have had the opportunity for. I mean, in this industry, you can have a month that completely changes the trajectory of your entire life, but sometimes you've got to figure that out on your own, or it seems to in the past before, Go Coaching came along. There wasn't really a clear path where, you had somebody that you could reach out to and have a platform to be able to ask questions that came to, give you some clarity on the path that you needed to go towards. I feel like I've been banging my head on against the wall for 8 years now almost. And ever since we've connected, man, like you said, I just feel like there's this big opportunity, man. It feels special, and we're kind of like on the ground floor. I think Sean was saying this last night. This is just the beginning of where we're at. And like I can't wait to see not only what we do internally for the community, but also like the trajectory of what this is going to do for our clients. Because iron sharpens iron, and the reality is us being better is going to consistently make us have better deals for our referral partners and people who need homes. So
well, dude. That's my favorite Bible verse, by the way. Proverbs 27:17. Iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. That is the testimony of my life, right? Because I always say I'm not supposed to be here. I was not born in this country. My mom and dad and I immigrated Iran to the U.S. in 1985 when I was 5 years old. Left our entire family back home. Not much money. So Thanksgivings, Christmases, holidays were very, very lonely and tough. My dad was a shoe salesman making $3.75 an hour. My mom could not get a job at McDonald's. We lived in a 600 square foot apartment, one bed. I had a mattress on the floor. And so, I moved about 4 or 5 times until I was the age of 12, got bullied, and it was tough. And so when I was 12 or 13, I got into a really bad fight in 6th grade. And one of the kids, his friends, brought a pistol to the dance. And I had come home that day with a black eye. And my mom was like, "What happened to you?" And I told her I got into a fight. And my really good friend at the time, Charlie, I still remember him. He lived in the 3rd floor of the apartment building. He told his mom that I got into a bad fight and there were some kids that were going to do something bad to me at that dance on that Friday night. His mom called our apartment. This is before cell phones, right? Back in the day. And she told my mom, and and my mom was like, "You're not going." And she told my dad, she goes, "We need to put this kid in a better environment. We need to get him out." So that again, I'm moving again, right? We moved to a really wealthy neighborhood in the suburbs of Chicago. So here I am wearing baggy jeans, Gerbo shirts, if anyone remembers back in the day in the 80s, right? Or that was in the 90s actually, right? So this is 92, 93. I had a Dino Air, and I was living in a little 2-bedroom apartment with my parents. So we go to this really wealthy community. And I just stood out like a sore thumb. So here I go, feeling like I'm inferior. These kids are all really rich. It's like 98% white. There's like 2 Middle Eastern dudes, right? Yeah. Who I met the first day of class, who's my best friend, shout out Paul Yukana, right? We just assimilated. Yeah. It was very tough, dude. These kids are going on spring break to like places like Aspen, Colorado. And I'm like, Aspen, Colorado, that sounds just so cool. We never went to Wisconsin Dells, man. People know in Wisconsin, right? It was tough. So long story longer, where that verse comes in my mind is there has been some critical people in my life that have believed in me and they've sharpened me, right? And that's why that verse stands out so much to me, because Go Coaching, dude, legitimately successful people write a check for speed. You follow? Like the older I'm becoming, I'm realizing like, dude, time is finite, man. Like, why do I want to struggle for this by myself? I'll find someone that's a really successful husband. I'll find someone that's really successful parent. I'll find someone that's got their health in order. Like, I will pay you gladly for me to accelerate time, right? So that's the fastest way. That's the only shortcut in success. And I'm a very big believer in that, because once I tasted that, Austin, one time, right? and I won't get into details what that situation was, but like, I want to get better at something. I paid this person, and after 6 months, I got really better at it. Then I found a coaching program. I read one personal development book, which was The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, right? Some of you guys have read that book, classic personal development. And I was like, I just tried, I don't know, some crazy, I felt like I just found the elixir of life, right? Like I said, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. Then I read another one, then another one, then another one. And I found a coaching program and my income 10x'd in 2 years.
Wow.
Because I didn't veer off 4 miles down the road of focus.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm about to do this. They're like, don't do that because this.
Yeah.
So I saved a ton of time. So dude, I keep going back to it. Like even what you're doing here, you're an entrepreneur. Great mortgage loan officers are entrepreneurs, right? That's what this business does. And so being ingenious, getting a podcast like this, investing in coaching, because you're 32, right? We were talking about
33.
You're 33. That is such a great age, man. Because in your 20s, you're making so many mistakes. You get your heart broken. You're probably working at corporate America. Yeah. You know, you lose some money, you make some money. You don't know who you are. Then you maybe settle down, find the right partner, buy a ring, buy a house, you know, figure out what industry you want to be in. These next 7-10 years for you are so critical because once you kind of hit that late 30s, early 40s, that's your time to really take off. Yeah. But you can accelerate that by finding guys like me, finding guys like Cap, you know?
100%, man. The first real taste of that, I remember, gosh, I was maybe 1 to 2 years into being a loan officer at the time. And I remember every Saturday, you know, the grass in Nashville grows pretty quick. And every Saturday, my wife and I, we would get out and I would cut the grass and she would weed eat. Because she's a badass wife like that. She'd get out there and
put your wife to work, man.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny is like the neighbors would go by and be like, "Why?" You know, like I mean, you could tell people were like looking, like, you know, what's this husband doing?
Did
like,
you have a wife beater on, man?
Well, what's funny is like, I mean, she wanted to get out there and do it, you know, with me because you know she understood that like I hated it, and so we would get out there and do it. And I remember another loan officer friend of mine, one of the few people who really. For a part of my career was, you know, there and kind of giving me some guidance was like, bro, you realize like if you work one extra Saturday, like you won't have to cut grass for like the next probably 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, like it was a complete mindset shift of like, okay, it's important for me to hyper focus my skill set on something that I know that I'm good at and be as good in that thing as I can. And, you know, you can live off of that for quite a long time and be really successful. The problem is, though, like at a certain point, you don't know what you don't know. And I would say like in the last 3 years, that's really what I've run into is like you hit this like peak of like, okay, I don't know how to take it to the next level. And that's what I'm so passionate about and why I'm so excited about, you know, Go Coaching is like, this is that for me. Like, you know, we now have an environment where people can talk openly and freely about like things that they're successful in. And you know, we're exposed to, you know, while you're a great coach, there are other coaches that I can get different perspectives on. And so, man, it's been really, really cool to, you know, be part of that and see kind of, you know, where that takes us.
Well, dude, that's a great story. That's our parents, right? Our parents taught us shine your shoes and wash your own car, right? And, you know, nothing wrong with that. Times have changed a bit, right? And it reminds me, I used to wash my own car. I would go get the bucket, sponge, you know, do the thing. And then I'm like, okay, I don't have time for this. I'll just go to the car wash. But then when I come out, I'll vacuum my own car in one of those automatic car washes. Then I was like, no. I want a hand car wash. But this is taking me door to door about an hour of time. Yeah. Then I'm like, nah, I'm going to pay the dude in the van to come to my crib and wash my car. Right? You see the levels to this?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, time is money, man. I don't got time for an hour. Like I take my income on a yearly basis, divided by, you know, 1,980 hours. I'm like, this is the opportunity cost of me doing this car wash, right? It's 2x what I'm actually going to make. I know that sounds crazy to some people probably listening to this, but you become very intentional with your time, especially when there's a wife and a kid. You're like, dude, my earning power is more. Shit, man, I may want to just sit on the couch for a second and have someone wash my car because I need that mental space to not have to worry about this. The other thing is community, right? Not to kind of switch gears a little bit. Dude, when this pandemic happened, I hit like crazy depression, right? When the pandemic happened in March of 2020, I'm originally from Chicago, right? And so some of the Midwestern people here, right? Jimmy knows, like, dude, when in that Midwest, and when that October like 15th hits, which is right about now, it's like, whoa, what just happened this summer? It's like a blink of an eye. The days are short. It gets cloudy. It gets extreme. It gets cold, windy. It's terrible. And so you just get sucked into this black warp, and now you don't have the opportunity to go out and have dinner because COVID just shut everything down. You can't go anywhere. And I just got depressed, man. And now it's mortgage business is booming. So I'm at my desk working 6 days a week. Yeah, the money was great. But I said, holy cow, when this is over, what's going to happen? Well, what happened? The music stopped right around late 2022. So now you have this new era of loan officers that are just working from home, right? We don't have that camaraderie anymore. We can't see each other in the hallway of the office and exchange ideas. I can't pop in and listen to you calling, realtors, right? The lunch and learns are pretty much dissolved because now people have their new way of doing things. So what's happened? Dude, COVID fragmented, isolated the entire loan officer industry. Then you have this transition of the older heads, right? That just made all this money. They don't want to adapt to social media, right? Yeah. And they're doing their own thing. And they're just like, how the rates go this high? They don't want to embrace the modern tech stack. Dude, it's a crazy perfect storm right now, right? Then you got the young dudes like you and me. Well, you're younger than me, right? But I'm still a millennial, right? We're in that, I'm just hanging on by a thread, man. As a millennial, right? But we're adapting. But dude, look what's happening right now. It's community. That's the power, is that we hang out. And so I'm proud to bring a coaching company where we can bring back people together. Like when I hang out with you, dude, people think like I show up on these coaching calls and like some people think this, right? It's like, I got all the answers. Shit, man, I don't. I will sometimes be like, I have no idea. Like you Tennessee guys have all these builders, right? And they're like, how do I do this builder stuff? And I just sit there, I'm like, I have no idea. Reach out to Sean Kaplan. He does all the builder stuff. I have no idea, right? Sometimes they'll ask me like, how do you do renovation loans? I have no idea. I had one of my students the other day say, how do I do this with my brokerage? I'm like, dude, I haven't been a broker for 10 years. But ask this dude. That's the power of co-learning and community. Yeah. So not only do you invest in coaching, but you're really indirectly investing in community. And if the culture of the community breeds kinship, breeds chemistry, builds teamwork, dude, that is a force to be reckoned with. And there's never been more important time than now, literally post-pandemic. Yeah. Right?
I mean, that's the reality for most people is they've been boxed in. They're used to taking orders at this point, from 2021. I think the other day I saw you post some numbers. It was in 2021, there was 179,000 loan officers.
Give or take, yeah.
And now it's at what, like 93,000?
Yeah, just short of 100,000, yeah.
And then it's anticipated by the end of the year, it's going to be like 80,000, right?
They said 40% of all LOs will leave the industry by the end of the year. Now it's projected to be like 50%. Wow. One in every 3 seconds, a realtor is leaving the industry. 30% of mortgage companies will consolidate. Yeah. My favorite book is The Godfather. Okay. And in that book and that movie, they talk about every 7 years, there's mob wars. Yeah. Dude, every 10 years, there's mortgage wars. Yeah. This is just part of it, dude. Yeah. This is a severe one. But I was given this analogy, Austin, the other day. I lived through 2008. Okay. Right. I was a broker. I was 26. And it was I felt like I was on a plane at that time with massive turbulence. Okay. And we're like, dude, are we going to land this plane? It was like the world was ending. This is like a plane that there's no really turbulence because there's low inventory, really good paper was issued. By paper, it means everyone had really good credit scores, so it wasn't like people are defaulting. 90% of loans are fixed rate mortgages. So compared to 2008 subprime crash, it's not like arms were adjusting and people were unable to afford their payment shock, right? This is like a smooth plane flying at 36,000 feet, but it's like, do we have enough gas to figure out where the runway's at? Yeah. Makes sense?
No, it does.
So it's all about how far can people ride this?
Yeah, it's interesting, man. So I was at a convention, and it was a mortgage convention, and somebody got up and they gave just a baller ChatGPT presentation. I mean, it was like my jaw. I remember at one point I was like, I got to close my mouth because like my jaw dropped. I was just absorbing so much content. I remember at the end of it, I stood up and I was like giving the guy a standing ovation. I looked around and it was like all of these old old dudes, like these old bankers sitting there, like playing on their phone and like doing a bunch of other stuff, not focused on any of the material. And I was just like, holy shit, like the industry is about to shift massively. And for the people who aren't willing to adapt, I mean, they're going to be left in the dust. You know, I mean, if you look at the average loan officer age, I think it's like 46.
Maybe even more.
Yeah.
I read like 52.
Wow.
They can do reverse mortgages, man. It's all good, you know?
But I mean, just think about like, there's two different ways to look at where we're at currently in the loan officer space. Either, first of all, like you could run and be scared and be like, oh man, like, you know, the world is ending. Or you could really hone in on your craft, get with the best people like the Go Coach community, and then realize the opportunity that you have to grab market share. Because, I mean, it's coming. I mean, the reality is there's got to be a change in our economy. You know, there are people here that are probably better qualified to talk about this than me. But, I mean, if you look at, you know, Q1, Q2, it's probably going to be a little bit rough. But going into Q2, I mean, there's got to be some change for whoever wants to be elected, if I would assume.
Well, dude, here's the thing, man. I got 20 years in this game, right? And my 20 years is like 30 years. That's how many hours I put into this. I mean that, right? There has been so many moments where we thought the world was going to end.
Yeah.
Okay. But what I mean by that is like, I'm being hyperbolic, but like in the mortgage industry, right? Yeah. So like 2003 happened, right? And it boomed. Then they said, you need to disclose. Some of the older, Cap might remember this, and Jimmy, they're like, you have to disclose YSP now, yield spread premium, where before it used to be kind of covert, right, guys? Remember? And everybody was freaking out. Like, I need to disclose to the borrower when I'm getting paid from the bank by brokering. That was like a huge thing. The industry is going to end. You know, it was nuts. And then some technology came out that proliferated that they're like, people were really bucking like paperless and no, it's going to cause compliance issues. So, dude, there's nothing new under the sun, man. Right? This is all just evolving. People were freaking out when the internet was coming out, thinking it was going to end the world, right? And I'm going to lose my job. Like, dude, it's going to be all good. It's going to be all fine, right? It's going to thin the herd, right? And at the end of the day, we make it through. Here's the other thing I'll tell you. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they provide 50% almost of every home loan in the United States. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are government-sponsored enterprises, okay? So they're essentially backed by the government, right? It is such a complicated process to get a home loan with different local laws around foreclosure and things like this. It's very clunky, you understand? The only way a loan will be able to be, iterated using artificial intelligence is if some major, another source of liquidity comes in that says, we don't need Fannie and Freddie. You can basically answer a few questions. AI will determine if you're approved. Here's the money, right? But the mortgage-backed security market is just so complicated when you really think about it, that there's so many things that have to happen. There has to be trillions of dollars to come out with a private fund that will allow AI. Right now, everything goes through Fannie and Freddie, right? And until that changes and the government accepts it, we still have a ways to go. Now, I experienced it personally. With Go Coaching, we had this incredible opportunity to get an American Express business line of credit. So I told Ro, my EVP, I said, yo, we don't need the money, but let's just, hey, they're giving us a loan, let's try it, right? It's a line of credit. You pay for what you use, right? It was AI. It was crazy. Amex has this in their business line of credit. We uploaded 12 months bank statements, right? And they went through our credit card statements the last 6 months. We answered 2 questions and it did some AI and it said, this is what you're approved for. And I said, damn, this is the future of mortgage lending. However, if Fannie and Freddie get out the way, that's when I'll be worried.
Yeah.
But for now, I'm not worried.
Yeah.
I think we got some time.
And
I would love to hear if anyone just start an intellectual debate on this, right? And
the one component of that I've been trying to kind of navigate in my head, one of my favorite quotes from one of our mutual acquaintances, Renee Rodriguez, talks about
Big Sexy.
Yeah, Big Sexy. He in his book said sales. Let's see, what was it exactly? Sales decisions are made based off of emotion and then defended by logic.
Ooh.
And so I've actually got it highlighted in my book. And I love that. Like, Man, that's so deep.
He's like a big walking Aristotle, isn't he?
Yeah, I was just like, I read it like 4 or 5 times, and it's been
Big
stuck
sexy
in my
Aristotle.
head. It's been stuck in my head for a couple weeks now. And like when I'm thinking through the statement of what you just said about AI, like how will AI end up impacting how people make emotional decisions? Because I think a big part of our job is to really get in, connect with the client on a personal level. What you're talking about sounded very, very transactional to me. Like you knew that you wanted a business line of credit, you wanted something specific, and then boom, AI just was able to go through and do that. But like, let's say if you were in a position where you had debt that you weren't really necessarily going in and accepting that, oh shit, you've got $50,000 of credit card debt. Yes, you have a 2.875% interest rate on your house, but like this debt is killing you every single month. Maybe it makes sense to refinance it at 8%. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Like, do you think that AI is going to end up impacting something like that?
I think it's to be determined, but I think it's gonna be a ways away. Think about it like this, dude. Email. What does email really stand for?
Electronic mail.
Okay, so why is there still mail carriers?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When email came out, why would I need to pay for $60 for a stamp now? Which I can't believe it's that much. I literally had to mail something the other day. I had no idea how to like fill out the envelope. I felt like the biggest goof. I had to call the guy at UPS, be like, yo, how do you fill out this envelope? It's been forever. I had to mail this check because my landscaper in Little Rock, Arkansas doesn't have Venmo. That's how old school he is. I still owe him money. He's like, send me a check, man. I'm like, you don't got Zelle. He's like, what? Right? So, dude, electronic mail.
Yeah.
Why would anyone get mail?
Right.
Like you're susceptible to, not shredding your mail and now, getting some sort of identity theft, like all this. Like, why would I just email it to me?
Yeah.
So think about that, right? I think you're absolutely right. I think it's AI. There are so many people in this country. Like my mom took forever to actually put her credit card on Amazon and buy something, right? Yeah. Now there's a younger generation coming up. Don't get me wrong, but I think there's still thousands of situations where people want to talk to someone. Right? Now, do I think loan officers' compensation is going to shrink and diminish? Because I think AI will augment certain things, but I think there's going to be certain situations where people still want the human touch. But the credit decision will be made through AI, which will greatly impact not only loan officers' compensation, right, negatively, however, but it will create a much quicker loan manufacturing process as well. So, dude, I am definitely concerned. I want to be very clear, right? Yeah. But I think it's going to take some time.
It's interesting to just analyze the specifics of, even in the community that we're in right now, its main focus is relationship driven. And it seems like, especially in tough times, the first thing that we want to do is connect with people and build a relationship with that person in order to make the biggest decisions that we have in our lives. Especially as we're, talking about business and providing for our families. Life gets more complicated as we get older, I don't know, man, I'm really, really excited about the stuff with AI, but I'm also really excited about, seeing the, how people like us adapt to the market, so maybe that would be a good question for you is like, with that in mind, like, how do you think in today's day and age that people should be adapting, loan officers specifically should be adapting with, modern, actually, here's a better way to put it, because we all refer to it now as a modern loan officer. How should the modern loan officer be adapting to how technology is kind of changing things?
Well, I definitely can't wait for you to pose that question for your next guest, Sean Kaplan. He's definitely someone to get insight around that as well, right?
Don't let me forget that question, guys.
Yeah. So Go Coaching, the foundation around it is the modern loan advisor, right? So what does the modern loan advisor mean? Okay. So think about it like this. There's one camp who's really about the traditional offline type of business model, right? Which is what? Voice-to-voice phone conversations, one-on-one break breading, having lunch, coffee, dinner, face-to-facing, going to events. That stuff is timeless, okay? I don't see that stuff going away for a very long time. But as long as we're human beings, like I think there's a big importance to that. However, the days of pounding the phone, right, and dialing and smiling and dialing, right? And those days are, that doesn't need to be that difficult, I should say, right? So what modern is the online digital approach that complements the offline traditional approach. Where I see a lot of loan officers missing the boat around this, and they make a lot of self-limiting excuses around, I don't want to do video, is business media, AKA social media, because I don't consider it social media anymore. For me, when I call it social media, it means I'm just wasting time. Business media for me is I've set my intention just through the language that this is going to support me, impacting people and getting more clients, right? So think about it like this. Online digital approach is a persuasion to persuade offline. It's how you're seen before you're known, liked, and trusted.
Yeah.
You follow me? So what does this whole world mean? There's short form content, IG Reels, Facebook Reels, short form content on LinkedIn, Twitter/X, right? TikTok, you understand? That is your quick, snackable, digestible way to quickly know, okay, who is this guy? Okay. Then when you create systems around me finally reaching out to you, you already know me.
Yeah.
My brand and my marketing makes my sales a lot easier. But branding and marketing is not a cop-out to selling. So a modern loan advisor understands how to marry both. Modern real estate agents understand how to marry both, right? Because it allows us to be omnipresent and be everywhere. Dude, check this out. My wife and I relocated from Chicago to Coral Gables, Miami, just south of Miami. When I see this agent, it's gonna be bittersweet for him because, it'll be good energy, we'll meet, but I'm gonna tell him, dude, I wanna compliment you on your YouTube channel because my wife and I would watch YouTube like every morning, your channel, because you put out amazing long form content. Long form is YouTube. You have podcasting right here. You have newsletters, how-to guys, right? Short form allows one to know you. Long form allows me to really trust you because you're expert matter, right? Subject matter expertise. We were watching his YouTube long form, and every week he was coming out with incredible content around Coral Gables, touching every sensory, Austin, right?
Yeah.
My thinker modality, which is like the data, right? My feeler, which is all the restaurants and clubs, and then my like knower, which is like quick market stats. Right? Yeah. These are the homes I traded. He had an incredible arsenal of communication with me on his YouTube. If my boy from Chi-Town did not move to Miami and become a realtor, I would have used this dude. I was like so close to call him and say, my wife and I are sold. We want to use you. And dude, we bought a fat crib, right? Yeah. So he lost a lot of commission, quote unquote.
Right.
And my boy got it, hooking me up on the closing costs, of course, But dude, I was thinking about that. And I said, all his videos got crazy amount of views. Yeah. And I said, this dude 100% is monetizing. Then I went to his IG. He was showing up every day, niching down. And I said, wow. Imagine even clients that are potentially already got connected to him. First thing they're doing, dude, is they're checking him out.
Yeah.
Right? Ryan Serhan's a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Right? That is the greatest arbitrage in business.
Yeah.
Is your brand. Well, so I hope that answered the question.
No, it did. I mean, what's crazy is not long ago, I remember when we first started our social media pages, we kind of had little man syndrome. We were a small brokerage shop, and so we spent a lot of time trying to look as big and corporate as we could. And like, if you look at our initial post, it looks very corporate, like big bank type stuff. And it took a long time. In fact, this was probably maybe 6 months ago that we really realized people don't like doing business with businesses. People like doing business with people they know and trust.
People.
Yeah. I mean, that's honestly what we had to do was go back and completely revamp. That's why we started doing stuff like this, because it's important, when you meet somebody for the first time, that's not the first time that they've met you anymore.
Yes, exactly.
What happens is they jump online, they go again and search you out, Facebook, YouTube. I mean, hell, if you have a YouTube channel, that's the second largest search engine for content out there, short of Google, and Google owns YouTube.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're not putting out YouTube content at this point, I mean, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and I'm even preaching to myself, like, that's why we're doing these kind of things, is because I realize, like, we have to do that in order for people to understand us. You know, like, I mean, business cards, you know, are great, but like our business card now is social media. And if you're not doing those kind of things, I mean,
We talked about that. That's right, dude. We had a major event yesterday, the fall growth con event, right? We do 2 major events a year. It was 100% virtual yesterday, right? So we had, I think, about a couple thousand people. Thank you. Yeah, it came out amazing, right? And it was a vibe. But you know, I had a slide up there. I love to research. It's funny for a kid that hated school. Like now, the research I do and what I love to do, I love it, right?
Yeah.
So I like geek out and I just get down this rabbit hole of like data. And so I put this slide up. Wharton Business School, which is a really proclaimed, business school, they did a study through the McCarthy Research Group. 86% of all millennials do not trust big company branding. They prefer personal brand. Yeah. And then I'm like, how many followers does Elon Musk have? How many followers does Tesla have? Yeah. Dude, Elon Musk is he's way above Tesla. And I just kept going one by one by one by one. Dude, personal brand is greater than company brand. Yeah. So at dinner last night, we had a bunch of people, a couple guys actually, they're like, I got my Facebook business page. Yeah. Do you think I should keep it or my personal page? I'm like, let me ask you a question. Do you follow other people's Facebook business page? Nope. They said no. I said, well, why would I want to follow your clunky ass Facebook page? Dude, it's not that difficult. Right. You I'm like, do you guys send newsletters? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, forward to me right now. So at dinner, they forward, right? And I said, dude, this is terrible, right? And we're not being fun with them. I go, would you read this from your company? Right. They're like, no. I'm like, why do you send this then? So it's like, I make fun of a lot of real estate agents. Yeah. Stop sending me forward. What is it? Spring forward and fall back, turn your clock. Bro, it's not the 1990s, man. Like, I know this. Stop doing that. I do not allow my company to control my marketing. They are not allowed to send any automated emails to my database. They're not allowed to post on my behalf, anything across my social. Any copywriters I use that put my social out, nobody on my staff is allowed. I'm the one that stamps it before it goes out because my brand, my reputation is incredibly important to me. I want to make sure I control that. So Facebook business, dude, people, I can't humanize it. Right. I read this awesome thing and I wish I can give a credit to the author. There's B2B, B2C, so business to business, business to consumer, but he said it's H to H. Human to human. You can do that in any caliber, you'll kill it. Think about that. Isn't it so true? Yeah. So everything we have to do in our branding and marketing it's got to feel like it's just me and you in a room. Right. Right? And that's the future. Now with IG, we're getting leads now in our DMs through IG. It's crazy because we're doing right call to actions for people to reach out with like, hey, if this really interests you, DM me the word me to get our 10-step how-to guide to buy your 2-flat. And I see these companies, dude, they irritate the shit out of me. Like, it's like you got these boomer CEOs hiring boomer CMOs to market to millennials. Right. And I think about the movie Big with Tom Hanks. Y'all remember that? Right? You remember that movie? Some of you guys are young, right? What happened? Tom Hanks goes to like that big wizard thing and he makes a wish. I wish I was an adult, right? Yeah. And he's a little kid in an adult body and he meets the owner of that toy store, right? F.A.A. Schwartz. Yeah. He was a kid in a man's body, but a kid was making the toys. Right. So he's in this corporate room and they're all making these like robots and he's like, this is terrible. But the whole essence of the movie is like, really the second essence of it is if you are marketing a certain demographic, why don't you hire that demographic to market to their own demographic? Like there's this big convention where these big security firms, they're like, no one can break through our home security. Guess who they bring in? They bring in burglars, like convicts, you know what I mean? They're like professional burglars. They're like, well, let's hire them if they can break through. The government brings in professional hackers. So I see these big mortgage company CEOs. I'm like, dude, what are you doing, man? This is not how millennials buy. They don't want to be sold. They know what you're doing. Stop putting in their face your company brand, dude. They don't want that. So that creates a great opportunity for guys like you and me. This phone is the most powerful thing that we got. and it can touch everybody. So the modern loan advisor, Austin, come full circle, is also you don't need to be in your direct market. Like having the big company name behind you, like Wells Fargo and Bank of America, right? Nothing against those guys, right? They used to hold over our head as loan officers like, you need us.
Yeah.
Dude, not anymore. You got Skyway Financial.
That's it.
No, they know Austin Hines.
That's right.
Right? And you don't need to be in a state with a big company name, with this power of social and the easiness of licensing. You can go anywhere now. People don't care, dude. That's the modern loan advisor.
Well, I think, we've covered a shitload of really high quality content today. I definitely appreciate your time. I've seen we've almost talked an hour now.
Has it been an hour?
Yeah, it's getting close.
I talk a lot, man.
Dude. And what's crazy is I looked at my clock and I was like, man, it only feels like it's been like 10 minutes. I mean, you're just dropping so much value. But like, just as we're kind of summing this up, man, like if you were to say for the modern loan officer in this environment, maybe you've already kind of answered this. If you were to have like one final thing to kind of sum it up, like as we're kind of moving forward, what do you think our main focus should be?
Okay, I'm going to say three things, right? Content, coaching, community. Okay, so content is embrace your own voice. Learn, learn, share every single day. So when you're doing a loan, you're going to learn guidelines, right? So share that with your audience every single day, whether it's short form text content, short form video content, share every day consistently, right? Your social media is your CRM, right? That's the most dynamic, non-static CRM for your database of people, right? Your past clients, prospects, get them in your web of business media so you're omnipresent, you're everywhere because visibility beats ability, right? Now you got visibility and ability, it's game over. You follow? 2 is coaching. Dude, this is truly from my heart. This is not a selfish plug. You can work with growth only coaching. There's plenty of great coaching companies out there. You got to fit what your tribe is. Don't try to do this yourself, man. Like you just dropped 100 G's on a college degree. Like, what are you doing with that? Like, right. And if you want to get in your feelings, what I just said, hey man, if the shoe fits, right? Not everyone's going to like what I'm saying, but hey, sometimes it's got to be spoke. You just paid all this money, right? Like you can't drop $5,000, $10,000 on your career degree. Yeah. Come on, man, right? 3 is community. You can't do this yourself.
No.
African proverb, you want to go fast, go by yourself. You want to go far, go with others. Why are you trying to figure this out yourself, man? Like, join a community, like a really active, dynamic community. Like we have what we have. You post questions, you learn from others. That's the 3-prong effect. If you're missing one, you're not going to go as fast as you're not going to go as far as you need to go.
I love that. Yeah, because I mean, for me, like, starting Skyway Financial, maybe it's not this way for everybody, but Skyway Financial is my baby, and I've heard before people say, it takes a village to raise a baby.
Yes.
And like, that's it, man.
Dude,
like,
yes, I love that.
You got to have the community in order to take your business to the next level. So. But anyway, man, as we're wrapping up, thank you again so much for coming on. Again, I don't know what the name of this is going to be yet, but glad to have you here.
Austin, guys, give them your IG handle, man.
Yeah, so it's at Skyway Financial. And what's yours, man?
At Amir Syed, AMIRSYED. I just launched Bank of America.
Woo.
Check that out. At Bank of America, AMIRICA. Might get some spillover from Bank of America. Please don't sue me, Bank of America. Okay? Austin, thank you, bro. I'm proud of you, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
Hi, boy. Love you, man.
Love
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
All right, bye.